Okay, Mila Falcha, welcome to Irish Granny Helen. Welcome, Debbra Lupien, voice of the AKASHIC Records. And we're here for Halloween. So, full disclosure, we're recording this a day or two early, but this will be our Halloween show. And what better topic for Halloween, Deborah? Do you want to announce it? Because you've got,
Yeah. So this is the lighthearted version of the Amityville house.
Anyone who doesn't know this story, I'm not going to go into huge detail. I've just put up a rather lengthy video that describes everything that we're going to talk about here. This is not a review of the book. It's not a review of the movie, the Amityville Horror. It's a review of the documentary, My Amityville Horror, which is the story of the little boy who lived in the house after the murders. So there's this beautiful house, and I don't know where, New Jersey?
New York.
Pennsylvania? New York? Okay. That great void east of the Rockies, somewhere over there. Beautiful house, and it was built on a dock, and there was water and a boat and a boathouse and a pool and 3 stories, I think. Really a beautiful house. And this family lived in it called the DeFeos, and there were 2 parents and 2, 3, 4, 5 children. Yeah, 7, 5 children. And one night, their oldest son shot the entire family in their beds and was quickly caught, jailed, indicted, tried, found guilty, and went to prison. But there was always question about it because they were all shot in their beds, covered up, lying on their stomachs. Nobody woke up. He shot 6 people and nobody woke up. Nobody heard anything. They've never been able to figure out how that happened. They were not drugged. They did toxicology on them. He did not slip them something at dinner time. Hard to get information about family dynamics ahead of time. You get the impression maybe this guy, I think he was in his early 20s, very early 20s, that there was maybe something wrong. That's kind of the age where mental issues can arise. But the thing is, most people with mental illness are the victims of problems. They're not acting out against other people. It's extremely unusual, statistically minuscule. So this happened, and this big old house was standing empty with all their belongings in it, just, Went on the market, nobody would buy it. And this family called the Lutzes came along, and they bought it for $80,000. And even in those days, that was a lot of money, but a drop in the bucket compared to what the house was really worth. They were trying to get it off the market. They had an impossible time finding a buyer. When they moved into the house, there was a mother and a father, but this was a second marriage. And so he was the stepfather to the children. And there were 3 children, a 10-year-old boy, a younger boy, and a younger girl. They don't count so much in the story that much. And even the day that they moved in, all these weird things started happening. And after a month of these really weird things happening, the family fled in the middle of the night, never looked back, left all their belongings. But there were weird family dynamics going on from the very beginning. So that's to introduce the documentary. So 40 years go by. Is it 40? Long time. This happened in the 70s. Now it's like 2012 or something. when the original haunting, we'll just call it haunting or possession, when that happened, the local station happened to be doing a special series on paranormal activities. And this great reporter, young woman, saw her opportunity, approached the family, convinced them to give her interviews. She got to know them pretty well. She got to know the children. And what happened, and she went on with her career. So we meet up again with her. This is the documentary. She's the common thread through it. We meet up with her, and now she's had a full career, and she's looking back on what happened. And she is reunited with the 10-year-old boy, now a full-grown man. And the documentary is her discussing with him what happened. And you get to see unfold the damage that this child suffered psychologically, the weird dynamics in the family, what the people around them thought. There were media people who worked with her who all went into the house and spent the night, camera guys, microphone guys, and a couple of reporters, hard-boiled skeptics, you know. And so in modern day, we get to see them sitting around a table having a discussion about what they remembered, how they felt at the time, and what they think happened now. We also hear from this little boy grown. We hear from his present day psychiatrist. We also hear from an academic forensic psychiatrist who isn't involved in the case, but has studied it from a distance and has quite a bit to say about all of the dynamics. It's a very interesting conclusion. I won't give it away, but it's interesting because it leaves some open-ended questions and it explores ideas you wouldn't necessarily expect hardcore journalists to even entertain. At one point, they bring Ed and Lorraine Warren to the house. These are famous demonologists, and there are a couple of scenes of them both at the time of the haunting and then all these years later. Ed dies, but we get to go to Lorraine's house. I won't go into detail. I describe it all in detail in my earlier video, and I really recommend you watch that video. There's a lot to digest. So we're going to ask questions, and I'm not sure what the best place is to start. Do you think we should start with Danny DeFeo?
I don't know enough about the story, so whatever feels right to you is fine.
Oh, this will be interesting. Okay, Daniel DeFeo is the young man who shot his family.
Okay.
So should we talk to him and see what happened there? So here's the question. Is the house haunted and it affected him? And then that family was gone and the house was still haunted and it affected the Lutz family? Because after this whole haunting thing, that, you know, this whole topic, the Lutzes left, they never went back. The house went on the market. 5 different families have lived in that house over the decades, and nobody's ever had a problem. Nobody knows what to think about that. So let's see if we can figure it out. So let's talk to Danny DeFeo.
Is he living or dead?
Oh my God, I think he's dead, but maybe he's in prison. I don't know. I forget. Let me look it up real quick. While I'm looking it up, we just want to be clear that we have burned sage and surrounded ourselves with light and invited only positive energy. And, you know, we're just being careful here. He died. He died in 2021. Okay. So then Does that make it easier to contact him?
Yeah. Okay. Just different.
Hmm.
The way I approach it is different. So I need to know that. So yeah. So Danny DeVeo, you tell us, what is it with the house? Was the house haunted? Did you bring something to the house? Did that come from you? Give us a clue about how this all came to pass. It started with him. It was in his head. He had this buzzing like bees in his head that was driving him crazy. So, was that some kind of a mental illness? Can you tell us that now? He says, you might call it mental illness, but to me, it was possession. He felt, he believed he was possessed. He was not in control of his actions. He was watching from inside of himself while his body did these heinous things. He had no control to stop it. That's what he believes.
Is that why nobody in the family woke up when the others were shot?
So help us understand, how is it nobody woke up when you were firing the gun? Okay, so we have to remember, he's not right in the head. So his perceptions are skewed because of that. Even though he's in spirit now, he's telling us what he felt at the time. So at the time, he felt it was like there was this energy that was suppressing the noise. It was like each room he went into, it was surrounded with this energy shield. So they didn't hear it to wake up.
So I have a question about this. Apparently he had a burgeoning mental illness, not rare in somebody his age at the time, right? So I would say that was true, that existed. Was he vulnerable because of that illness? Did that make him more accessible to negative energy in the house?
So would you say, Danny, that having a burgeoning mental illness made you more susceptible to being possessed? Yeah, he was so confused. He didn't know which end was up. So it was very easy for this entity, we're not going to say, the other word, but entity, to come in and take control of him. And at that point, then he was helpless. He was just a passenger.
And he did not invite it.
Would you say you fought it?
No, invite it.
Oh, invite it.
Invite
you did invite it? Did you invite it? No, it was like a parasite. It was opportunistic.
Was it there before the house was built?
Was that energy there before the house was built? No. But you know what he added to that last statement? It's otherworldly. It's from out there somewhere.
Are we speaking alien?
Yes.
Oh.
I never went that way.
What do you mean?
In my mind, just knowing the story, it never occurred to me that it would be an alien connection. But that's what he's describing. It was like a parasite from another world.
This is weird. I've been covering a book about this topic, that aliens are entities. And I've also talked, I won't go into detail, but I've asked that question of elsewhere, and they said no, that people want you to believe that, and that our religious context, that's just where our minds go, right? That some people see everything in terms of God and fallen angels, right? And that's not a true dichotomy. It's not a true yin and yang, I guess, or whatever you want to call it. One man's ET is another man's entity. Are we not allowed to say the D word?
I'm having trouble hearing you.
Are we not allowed to say the D word?
I wasn't sure, so I thought it better not to.
Oh, okay. It's potato. It's a misunderstanding, and we can be toyed with, but I don't think blaming that for his actions. I would blame his mental illness, and he might be compelled to do weird things, but I don't know. I don't know what to make of it, but keep that in mind, that what I've heard lately is that it's not correct to say that ETs are from the hot place. They're maybe from other dimensions. Maybe we don't comprehend them, but okay. This is getting into stuff I didn't even expect. And we're only on page 1 of my notes. So when he was taken away and his family was killed, that energy was still in the house, or did it follow him?
So, Danny, when they took you away after your family was dead, did the energy that controlled you stay in the house? Yes.
Okay.
He was no longer of any use to it, so it stayed.
Okay. So thank him, because we don't really have any other questions for him.
Okay. So thank you, Danny. We appreciate that.
Sets the scene. The next person that we have to talk to is the stepfather, George Lutz, and he is dead.
Okay. All right, so what are we asking George?
Oh, okay. Yeah. One of these days I'll understand the process. I want to know if before he moved to that house, he was involved in any occult practices.
Okay, so George Lutz. Were you involved in occultism before you moved into the Amityville house? No.
His stepson says he came with a whole bookcase full of books about black magic and UFOs and paranormal stuff, possession. Is that untrue?
So your stepson says that's not true, that you had a lot of paranormal and occult books and objects. So is he lying? He's kind of hedging. He's not exactly lying, but he's exaggerating because he didn't really get along with him, and he wanted to inflate the story.
So let's be clear about it. When he moved into the house, he had in no time previously engaged in rituals or attempt magic or play with the Ouija board or any of that stuff. He had never done any of that.
Okay, so George, just to be clear, before you moved into the house, had you ever engaged in anything occult, like Ouija boards or other inquiries of the dark nature? Well, yeah, I mean, he did the stuff with the kids, Ouija board, sure, but he does not consider that dabbling in the occult.
Did he do it with the kids in the house after they moved in?
So did you use any of these practices with the children after you moved into the house? He says he did not, but the children might have used some of the materials that he had, and he's claiming it was just minimal innocent stuff. He was not some hardcore occultist person.
Okay. His stepson tells about an incident where he came home from school early, unexpectedly, and found his stepfather, George, in the boathouse or the garage. They were right next to each other, separated from the house, with a group of his friends, and they were doing some sort of ritual. Is that a lie?
So, George, were you doing some kind of a ritual, a satanic or an occult ritual in the boathouse at any time? He says this kid did not like him, and he told a lot of stories. He did have friends over, and they hung out and joked around, but it was nothing of an occult nature as it was represented.
So we know we need to take this with a block of salt. We know that there are two sides to every story. I'm not accusing anybody of anything, but this is the story we're trying to clear up. His stepson says that he was abusive to the kids and the wife, and that he did not know how to parent, that he would go into rages and lash out. Is that true?
So your stepson is accusing you of being abusive. Were you abusive to your wife and your stepchildren? He's saying no, but it's like there's something happened with him where there's a wall, and there's stuff that's on the other side of that wall that he doesn't know what it is because he wasn't present. So
When did that happen?
are you saying that that parasite, that entity, had come in and was in control of you at that point? Is that what's happening? Okay, and so when did this occur? How long were you in the house before that happened? It happened before they moved in. There was something about him that made him susceptible. Maybe it was some early dabbling or questions about reality, but he was susceptible. And so it started working on him from the very beginning, which is why he was interested in the house after he had seen it. And it drew him in. But then pretty quickly, he was boxed off. Like he was still there, but he was not in control again.
Like Danny DeFeo.
Yeah.
Does he have any understanding of what this energy was up to? Why? What was going on?
So can you tell us about this energy? What was its motivation? What was it trying to accomplish? It was all about destruction, pain, suffering. You would probably call it sadistic. It fed off of pain and fear. So it would do things to cause pain and fear in the family, which fed it, and then it became stronger. And it eventually got to the point where George was just not really there. He was checked out.
So all the things that everybody in the family claimed to see, the flies, the room with blood on the walls, the red-eyed pig at the second story window, were these things lies? Were they imaginary? Were they a psychological manifestation, or were they real?
So can you help us understand the sightings of the flies and the pig and all the frightening things? Were those really there? No. So it was like hallucinations? Oh, holographic projections. I wasn't expecting that.
Well, I'll tell you, you just gave me the creeps because that's what that book says.
Oh.
That's creepy. Okay, so let's move forward. They call in Ed and Lorraine Warren. Maybe we should talk to them. Maybe we should talk to Lorraine Warren, because she's prominent in this documentary. So, does she believe the possibility that what she calls something from down there could possibly be something from up there?
And is she living or dead?
Dead.
Okay. So Lorraine Warren, going back to your investigation of the Amityville house, do you believe there was a malevolent entity there? Yes. And do you believe this entity was from another world where it's very hot? No. Do you believe it's from an other world outside of our solar system? Yes.
Where is it now?
She doesn't have a name for it, but she believes. So
Okay.
do you know where it is now? What happened to it? This is really weird. She's saying that it came with a mission and it had a finite period of time and energy. When it ran out, it just dissipated.
Good. That makes me feel a lot better. I'll tell you what, this whole thing gives me the creeps. You know, when I first read that book, I was in my 20s. I was working in a hospital. I got off at 11 o'clock at night. I came home one night, and you know, you can't just go straight to bed. It's a high pressure environment and you need to mellow out. So I went home and I had this new book. Oh, I'm going to read this book, The Amityville Horror. I sat down in my living room to read that book, and I could not make myself walk across the room to the bathroom all night long. I was frozen in fear. It was a scary story because it was put forward as 100% true.
Yeah.
So to review, according to the experts, this was a negative energy from another planet that came with the ability to induce, I guess, delusions by showing holograms. And its goal was destruction and suffering. And now it's gone.
Well, also studying, data gathering, studying the effects of what they were doing. Because why would you do that otherwise? There had to be a bigger purpose.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this other book, which I happen to be covering right now in my Saturday book, talks about the fear of people in the Pentagon and national intelligence that there is this sort of stuff going on. And they actually have a plan where, and the government is part of this, where they want to project holographic images of Martin Luther King and Gandhi and, I don't know, Mother Teresa, Buddha, Jesus. Like one of those announcements that UFOs are real, except it'll be a Jesus moment. And like the book of Revelation, like at the apocalypse, sort of, you know, the second coming. And that they're going to use holograms to either create a false flag UFO arrival or the second coming of Jesus or something. And there are, I mean, legitimately documented proof that there are people in a subset of Pentagon and national intelligence working together who are fundamentalist Christians who really believe this. And the goal is they want to hasten a theocracy. They want to hasten total fundamentalist Christian rule. The Bible is the law. All that Old Testament stuff, you have to obey that. That patriarchal control. Yeah, that's scarier than the Amityville Horror, in my opinion. Anyway, let's go back. Let's go back. So she thinks that this energy is dissipated. So we can kind of relax a little bit. We kind of have a hint of.
Well, what she showed me, it's like Mission Impossible. Remember, they would give them the note and it was self-destruct after they read it? It's kind of like that. It came with a mission. It did its thing and then disappeared. But the people who sent it are still there. They could send others.
Well, I'm sure, there's plenty of weird stuff that goes on. I could believe anything. Anything. I mean, look where we are today. Anything can happen. So, okay, let's go back to the story. So really, Ed and Lorraine Warren, we've learned what we need to learn from them and thank them, but now we know, right? So this family did see what they claimed to see and did suffer what they claimed to suffer and did flee something that's now, poof, gone. But the effects continue. The post-traumatic stress continues.
Yes.
So really, this story, it revolves around the 10-year-old son as an adult. And he's having these conversations. It kind of jumps around in time, like I do. And it includes conversations that he's having with this investigative reporter named Laura Didio. She is fantastic. She asks the questions that you always want the reporter on Dateline to ask, but they're too polite. She gets right to the core of the matter. She had long talks with Dan, I think his name is Danny Lutz, and he's the child, and he's damaged. It's very sad. He's kind of a nice looking guy if he didn't look so rough and pardon?
Haunted?
Yeah, well, let's just get right to it. She asks him all kinds of questions. She asks him about, did you lie? And were you making this up? And why were you so antagonistic with your stepfather? And his perception is the stepfather was, he says a lot of horrible things about him. He really hates him. He admits that he plotted how to get rid of him. He ran away from home multiple times. We have a very troubled kid here in the heart of the story. And it probably didn't do him a whole world of good to go through this event. You know what I mean? Yeah. So he did run away. He lived in the desert, homeless, at the age of 15, I think. He eventually carved out a life for himself. He's all into motorcycles and stuff. He has a lovely smile. You can see the person he might have been had he not been so badly traumatized and damaged. But he blames the stepfather. And he doesn't say that it's not possible that the stepfather was lying 100% and none of it happened. What he's saying is the stepfather, because he was so awful, he manifested it. So at one point, he's so troubled. He is just, it just oozes out of him. And he's on the ragged edge of severe anger all the time while he's talking to everybody. One of the cameramen, when everybody leaves the room, one of the cameramen you cannot see behind the camera says to him something like, did you tell the truth when you were a kid? And he basically threatens him after the camera's turned off. He says, when we're done here, I'm gonna, it's really sad. So at one point he's talking with this journalist and he's troubled, and she asks the question I was dying to ask. She says, when you left the house, when you went away to the desert, do you think it's possible that that energy went with you, that it was with you? And she hadn't even finished the sentence yet. And he said, yes. So maybe we should talk to him. And he is alive. At least he was when this video was made, but it's a couple of years old. Let me double check because I don't want to. So his name is Lutz. Oh, for heaven's sake, I typed it wrong. You'd never want to hire me to do your typing. Yeah, he's still alive. He's 60. Let me show you a picture of him. He's a handsome man, but tell me that you don't see a troubled soul in these eyes.
Oh, spooky. Yeah.
Haunted? Would that be the word? And he says, yes, he feels like he was possessed by it too. But she goes on to ask him, how did you get rid of it? And I forget what his answer was, but it's in the other video I made. So should we talk to him or his AKASHIC records? Okay. Yeah. So let's ask him, before they moved into the house, truthfully, did George act out? Did he hurt him?
Okay. So Danny Lutz. Accessing the AKASHIC records of Danny Lutz. Help us to understand, did the stepfather George act in a threatening, abusive way before moving into the Amityville house? No. He was strict. He was stern. He was learning how to be a father. He had no practice. And Danny resented that. But nothing like what happened once they were in the house. That was night and day.
So those aggressive behaviors did happen, but only after they moved in.
Yeah.
Okay. Does he have any insight into what happened to George?
So, Danny, do you have any ideas about what happened to George? Do you understand why he changed? When he was a child, he thought that he didn't want the kids and that he was trying to get rid of them. So he was very fearful for his life, for his siblings, for his mother. He didn't have any control. He didn't know what to do. So running away was one of his escapes. But he felt very hopeless because the energy that he felt, even though he didn't know what it was, felt so controlling, as if there really was some kind of he's describing it like wearing a straitjacket. Not literally, but the energy of being confined and controlled by a straitjacket.
Controlled by George or controlled by the entity?
Well, he thought it was George at the time.
Okay. So I may have asked this before, but I'm going to ask it again because I don't remember. The things he claimed he saw.
So the things that you claimed that you saw George do, did you actually see the physical persona of George do these things? Yes, but the caveat is he now sees that he did exaggerate it a little bit because of his fear. So yes, and qualified.
Did he really see a pig at the window?
Did you really see a pig in the window? Yeah, you really did.
From his perspective now, at the, the Akashic records, can he write that off to just a psychological thing? Or, as we've been told, could it have been a hologram?
So, from your present perspective, was that something real that you saw? Was it maybe your mentally troubled state or something else? He saw an honest to goodness, glowing eyed pig, and he at the time thought it was a demon. Oh, I said the word. He thought it was an evil entity.
So, I guess what we're looking at here is something that truly happened, and a traumatized child's perception and reaction.
Yeah.
And the family got out of there. Everything calmed down. And he had the rest of his life to struggle with the ramifications. This is a terrible situation. So, in a sense, the entity succeeded.
Well, the entity was studying them, but it was also living off of their fear.
Yeah. But if
So it
it
was
wanted to cause
bad.
pain, it succeeded.
Yeah.
Yes, what I meant. I don't know. I can't even think of another. Oh, well, here's a question. I don't know who you want to ask. I don't know if you want to ask Lorraine Warren, because I have a feeling I know how she's going to answer. Although now that she has died, perhaps her perspective will be more reasoned. So she made a big deal about having a piece of the true cross to protect her. And I personally have a lot of trouble with that, because if indeed that's a piece of the true cross, this cross was the size of the redwood forest, because there are pieces out there all over the world for hundreds and, well, thousands of years now. My namesake is to blame, St. Helen. She found the original true cross. Did you know that? That was the big story.
No.
That's her mother of Constantine, founder of the true cross. She was busy. And I don't mean to be disrespectful, but I find it really enraging when people's vulnerability is manipulated by fear. And I want to know from Lorraine Warren, okay, did Jesus hang on that cross? What is she talking about? How real is that?
Did he hang on any cross, or the one that she had the piece of?
Oh, there's just no, let's not get too complicated. that thing she had in her hand, was that from, Jesus's crucifixion?
Okay.
Serious.
So, yeah, Lorraine Warren, the piece of wood that you had, was that from the actual cross that supposedly Jesus was crucified on? Symbolically, not actual. Okay. Because she says, if you want to open that door, now from her perspective, are you sure that story even happened?
Well, no, but we don't want to get into that right now. maybe we'll save that for Easter.
Yeah.
So here's
another time.
Here's the question then. This begs the question. If a person has enough faith, and I use that word reservedly, if a person convinces himself deeply enough that some totem or token has magical powers, does it really have magical powers? In other words, if you think you're holding a piece of the true cross that's going to protect you, are you protected?
So help us to understand, Lorraine. If you have an item as you thought you had, does your belief in it imbue it with power? It can, because you create your reality. You believe it enough for long enough, you can cause that to manifest.
Okay, so let's take it a step farther. Before we started this recording, we saged everything real well, and we brought down light, and we set an intention of only high vibration, only good intention, just to sort of cover our bases. Does that work, or is that pointless?
What a great question. So, Lorraine, can you tell us the actions that Helen took before we began for protection? Are those effective? Do they work? Do they mean anything at all? They mean exactly what you imbue them with. So by your belief, you make it manifest.
So let's just say, for the sake of argument, that you approach it with hope that it works, trust that it works. But what do we know? Does it still work?
Okay, so if you're not convinced, if you only hope that it works, is it still going to work? Is it going to do what you expect it to do? Sometimes, not always. It depends on the level of belief.
Okay. How about the level of good intention? I'm grasping at straws here. Deborah, help me out.
What's the real question you want to ask?
Well, that is the real question I want to ask. We are all in a process, right? And I am in a lifelong process of trying to understand philosophical, metaphysical truths. And I've gotten to a certain point, and I don't want to be the victim of yet another belief system. Do you know what I mean? I was raised with that, and I believed all that for a very long time. I don't want to be gullible. I don't want to be too skeptical. So I approach these things with a clear heart, a good heart. I want the best intentions, but I don't know. I don't know anything. I'm hoping, but what do I know? Who am I? So when I go into these situations, I joke about covering my bases, and do the whole thing with the sage and the light and everything. I feel like it can only help. There's no harm. I want it to do the good things. Do I believe 100%? It's not that I believe or don't believe. It's I hope. You know what I mean? I'm not going to know until I'm dead. Then I'll know, right? Is that good enough?
Yeah. So she says the whole thing is your journey is an experimentation. You try this, you try that, you observe what happens, you make new choices based upon what you've learned. So that's the whole point of it, for you to find out. The path that you take to get there is going to change depending on the choices you make. But the end of the path and the beginning of the path are not changing.
That makes sense. Yeah, I understand what she's saying. That makes sense. Yes. And we're all headed in the same direction. We may take a few detours along the way. I completely understand. Yeah, I get it. I would like to talk to her later in the year, like maybe closer to Easter, about a few things having to do with, if she's willing, because I have questions. And I think they would. Thank you. Excellent. And I have to say, I was horrified by the chicken in the kitchen. She'll know I have chickens. So, they're not the cleanest animals. Is she mad at me?
No, I only heard part of that. So
I said that I'm horrified by the chicken in the kitchen.
she had a chicken?
She had 2 live chickens in cages in the kitchen. And I have chickens. And they're not the cleanest animals in the world. These chickens looked really well cared for. They were exotic chickens. They were really pretty, really, really pretty. And I get treating them well. I mean, I appreciate that. I just don't think I'd want them close to the kitchen counter and the refrigerator. Does she have second thoughts about that now?
This from the woman with the parrot flying around the house?
All right. Okay. People were asking me today, I guess I made a video and the parrot was making a lot of noise in the background. I don't hear it when I'm focusing on this and I'm reading cards and stuff. You most of the time don't hear it. Once in a while when I'm shuffling, I'll hear it. And she knows when I'm reading cards because she gets all revved up. And the reason I know that is because if I watch the video back, I can hear her. People asked, is that your bird? So I played the video and I went, oh my God, listen to her. She's going crazy. I had no idea. So, okay. People who live in birdhouses should not point fingers. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. Shall we look at the investigative journalist, Laura Didio? She's alive, but I would like to know what she really thinks about this story. Okay.
So that's the question. What does she really think about?
What does she really think is going on here with this man, Mr. Lutz, and then with George and the haunting and the whole thing? Yeah. What does she really think is going on here?
Okay. So Lauren Didio.
Laura. Oh my God, I have so many pages of notes. It's crazy. I've got like 30 pages of notes on this thing that I made a video of. Where is her name? Well, she knows who she is.
Okay.
I think Laura.
So I'll go with Laura Didio. We'll try that. So Laura Didio.
I found it. Laura.
Okay. The investigative journalist on the Amityville story. Could we access your records and speak to you? Yeah, she's willing.
Oh, great.
So can you tell us, what do you really think about the Amityville story? Do you believe it? Are you skeptical? Do you think maybe it's a combination? Maybe it's a hallucination? What comes up for you? She's like, it's so befuddling because there are so many directions, and she feels like she went down so many rabbit holes that she confused herself. And the people who lived it don't even know what happened. So how can she get at the truth? All she can do is go with her gut instinct. She knows something evil happened. But could she label it? Truthfully, no. She knows it's a phenomenon. She's glad it stopped happening. But that's
what does she think about Mr. Lutz, the kid, the 10-year-old, and then, what does she think about him? The one whose picture I showed you.
So what do you think about, that was Danny, right? Danny Lutz?
I think his name is Danny. There's so many Dannys in this story. It's crazy. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Danny.
What's your opinion of Danny Lutz? She feels very sorry for him. It's a tragedy what happened. And if she were being honest, she would say that he was so traumatized that he doesn't know what happened. So how can they get at the truth of what happened? He was traumatized. That's true. Can't dispute that. The rest of it, there's still a cloud of mystery surrounding it, because in her heart of hearts, when she really thinks about the details, it doesn't make sense. there are too many loose ends and pieces that don't fit together. It's like a puzzle with missing pieces.
I want to tell her something. I want to tell her that she may be the best investigative reporter I have ever seen. She is so direct and so perceptive. She's kind, but she doesn't hold back her punches. I just was impressed. She asked all the questions that I want to ask people that nobody ever asks. And yet she was diplomatic. She was kind. She treated him like she had training in how to deal with a person who was a little unstable. She was really good with him because he was like a ticking time bomb. You could just feel it. I guess my question to her would be, could she feel that?
So, did you feel that Danny was like a ticking time bomb? Yeah, he was a clock that was too tightly wound.
Yeah.
And she's thanking you for the kind words.
Oh, thank you for a fabulous documentary.
And she said, kindness doesn't cost anything.
Oh, I wasn't charging. Oh, from
No.
her. Oh,
From her to
Yeah.
Danny. So she doesn't need to be thanked for that. Kindness doesn't cost anything. That's
Yeah,
who she is.
Now, how come so many people are stingy with it?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, she was great. She was so good. I really admired her. I recommend this documentary because I do think that the conclusion is obscured. People don't know what to think. And I think we got some really interesting information tonight that I think it clarifies it. I think you had a troubled man who wasn't prepared to be a father. You had traumatized kids going into it. They didn't like him from the beginning because he took the place of their father. And the first thing he did was go to their father and demand to have their names changed to his last name.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Yeah. He was pretty controlling. And as a result, they lost their father. They lost their identity. They also lost family connections. And the family talks about this, that his cousin said, this was a terrible tragedy because it destroyed our family, extended family. We lost all those connections. They took off. The mother and stepfather, after the month of haunting, they went on a media tour. And the only way that the family knew where they were was what station they were on, Cincinnati or whatever, right? He got put in a boys' Catholic school, boarded, and that was abusive. They were doing exorcisms on him. He was 10 years old, and they were doing multiple exorcisms on him. This is a person who needed psychological help for multiple different reasons, right? So whatever that kernel of negative influence was, and I have zero problem accepting that it could be from elsewhere using holograms to create pain. I have no problem believing that. I'm not saying that's what it was. I'm just saying it's as good an explanation as anything. But at the heart of the story, you have this damaged kid. Father went off with the mother. Children were kind of abandoned to their fates. He's now estranged from his younger siblings. He doesn't really see the rest of his family. His parents are both dead. So those fences can't be mended in this lifetime. I think this is an interesting explanation. What do you think?
It makes sense. Not what I was expecting, but
what were you expecting?
I thought it was like, maybe psychosis, maybe some kind of demonology. People believe it, and if you believe it, you can make it true. We just learned that, right? You can manifest it.
Yeah. And I thought it was either a hoax because only people in the family saw this stuff, you know. And you can convince kids of anything, and these children were damaged psychologically to start with, right? So they had enough animus towards their stepfather that it would be like a feedback loop, and your memory is very plastic. You could fill in the blanks, and you know, I could see a scenario where this got created out of whole cloth for greed and attention. But I always had this weird nagging thought in the back of my mind. Well, what about Danny DeFeo? How did all 6 of those people get shot and never wake up? That was always to me the clue that there was something else weird going on. And I do believe that there was something there, and it affected him, and it stayed, and it affected George, and it tried to affect Danny. And I think he overcame it. He fought it. But he's still very much in need of mental health care. But the hero of the whole story is Laura, the journalist. Yeah. She was fabulous.
Yeah.
There's some scenes with a woman who's a psychologist. She's like a counselor talking to Danny Lutz as an adult. She didn't have a clue. And he knew she didn't have a clue. And it was tense. It was very tense. And I think she went into it like she was doing some sort of happy family counseling with a big grin on her face the whole time. And it put him off. It put me off. And I haven't been seeing demons. So I can understand why he just was not happy dealing with her. So yeah, this has been so interesting, hasn't it?
Here's the thing that's coming up for me. I don't believe in those things down there.
Uh-huh.
That's not what I'm told. They don't exist. They're made up to control people.
Uh-huh.
But now you got to wonder, okay, have they always been from somewhere else? And in that case, then they are real, but they're different.
Well, let me remind you of a little story that repeats globally and throughout the ages. Now, I'm not saying that I believe this is the word of God, okay? But I'm just reminding you that in the lexicon of human mythology, there is the book of Revelation, and there's the discussion of the fallen angels. And a lot of these stories sound like that. Where do you fall from, Deborah? You fall from a height, right? And they were beings of light who fell out of favor. There was a battle, and there's great resentment. And they don't like the dearly beloved children, the humans of the earth. And they want to make things ugly for them. They're not from there. They're from up there, but they're pissed. You know, in a nutshell, I know I'm grossly oversimplifying, but I don't have trouble believing that. I think that's entirely possible. It's a story that repeats itself around the globe. Does that make them evil, or does that just make them resentful and angry and hostile? You know, they have more flaws, like human flaws, than they would ever want to admit. And I don't think we need to fear them, because they're, I think they can do a lot of damage, but ultimately they won't prevail.
Oh, I agree with that.
I believe, that I have faith in. I believe that the light, good, will prevail. The big question is, how long is it going to take? What's the battle to get there going to be like? It's going to be hard, and people don't want to hear that. But we will prevail. It will be fine. And endlessly, we have to remind ourselves, we're not our bodies. These are tools. These are not who we are. We spend a lot of time, and we can't help it, because we're genetically programmed. It's a biological imperative to survive. We are programmed to survive. beyond, above everything else. So our true spiritual nature struggles constantly with the impediment of our biological imperative. It's difficult. It's really a struggle, which is why incarnation on earth is so valuable, because what happens when you struggle? You grow, and we're here for growth.
Yeah.
It's all so simple. There, I solved it all. Now we can go.
Well,
but you know what? Pardon?
It sounds simple until you're living it.
No kidding.
Yeah.
No kidding. There's only one rule. That's what I tell everybody all the time. I tell my family, there's only one rule. Don't sweat it. Love one another. That's all. Okay. Yeah, it's really hard. It's the hardest thing there is. That should be our goal. But I don't know. I have a list of people that I'm struggling with loving. and well, I won't say it. There's some people at the top of the list. Well, I had an interesting conversation the other day, and I won't go into too much detail about it, but the message that I got was, sometimes people are incarnated, and they're really incarnated at a very low vibration, and they turn their back on every opportunity that they're given over and over to grow, to raise their vibration, to evolve spiritually. And there comes a time when they're dragging everybody else down with them. And it's not our job to love, 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 because they turn their back on that. It's our job to understand what's going on, to pity them, and to focus on what we're doing with other people.
Yeah, don't let them be a distraction.
Not to distract us from our path, but to be aware, to understand. You can't understand them if you try to ignore them or pretend it's not happening or whatever. It's like this balancing act of being alert and aware and informed, but going on about your own business at the same time. It's very difficult balancing act. Yeah. Which is why I'm like all the time.
Well, Metatron calls that soft focus. So know that they're there. Don't deny it, but keep them in soft focus, because you don't want to give them energy when you focus fully on them. So peripheral vision kind of thing.
Well, you don't have to worry about me giving them energy. I have hardly enough energy for myself. I'm not sharing. So you don't need to worry. Well, I think we've solved the problem of the Amityville Horror House.
And I think it felt less heavy than I expected it might.
Well, once you told me that the negative energy had dissipated, I was fine. I was good. I was a little worried. I have to tell you, I don't want to invite problems. And I've had some strange experiences. Not a whole lot, but enough to really, you put your hand on the stove once too often, right? So I wanted to do it, but I didn't want to trouble. You know that old saying, never trouble till trouble troubles you. Yeah. I live by that. Yeah.
But they're saying you prepared the way. You used your wisdom, you prepared the way, and therefore you were able to pass safely through.
Yeah, I'm getting too old for any nonsense with weird energies. I just, I can't. I don't want them, not interested. I think that's a lot of it. I think people kind of get curious and, make themselves vulnerable. It's all I can do to just handle my stuff every day. Right. All right. Deborah, this was fun. It was
Happy Halloween.
Ooh, I'm not as scared anymore as I should be. Thank you for doing this. Love your new house.
I didn't hear that last part.
I love your new house.
Oh, thank you. Right back at you.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
See you next time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Happy Halloween.